This is how to build buzz for your event. I'm your host, Dave Meyer. We're going to talk about using events, surveys, and social media to help your business or nonprofit generate better results with one of the best ways to grow your business, and that's through event marketing. I'm your host. This is Dave Meyer. If you'd like to reach me and request the PowerPoint notes from today or the slides, you can send me an email at dave@BizzyWeb.com. If you're experiencing technical issues or some other challenge, or if you just have questions and would like to talk to a real live human being, you can dial us at 612-4BizzyO, 424-9990. And of course, if you have questions or concerns, you can also tweet your questions to the hashtag BizzyWebinar. I'm going to switch over to that for 1 second. So on this page, you'll probably see that there is a streaming window, and this is probably where you're viewing this. If you click on this button, you can go to full screen to see everything better, but then you can also review the hashtag right here and watch what people are saying, what notes folks have. And if you'd like to just go into the hashtag on Twitter, you can use that one here. So that's how you do that. You just do the hashtag #BizzyWebinar. If you do that, we'll see it and we'll respond appropriately. So thanks again for joining. Again, I'm your host, Dave Meyer, and let's get down to business. First, a little bit about BizzyWeb. We are a digital marketing agency located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and our team of 15 folks has been doing this for 17 years. We build websites, do social media integrations. We help out with social media advertising, search engine advertising and optimization, and all things marketing. If you have a need, we would love to talk to you, and we'll share more details on how to do that later. What are campaigns? Before we get into this, we're speaking of marketing and events as part of a campaign. Normally with campaigns in marketing, you push content and then are pulling some sort of a physical response. You're asking people to do something. In this case, for events, we're pushing invitations out and we're trying to pull registrations back in. So as you hear me talk about events today, that's the kind of content and information that I'm talking about. There's a lot of different types of events. You can do fundraisers and galas in support of causes or events. You can do conferences or industry trade shows. There's short or long-term workshops and classes, networking events, social gatherings, and of course, seminars and lectures. All of these are very helpful and interesting ways to generate more buzz and interest for your business. The thing that you need to be concerned about is you need to be as useful as possible to your end clients in order to generate new business. So always think about what's in it for them as you generate these events. Having an event to get well, or to make sure your event is well attended, make sure it's all about the people you're trying to reach. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about why run an event, what the details are, and what you need to know about a free or paid event. We're going to talk through promotion on your event and set out a rough timeline that you can try for different promotional activities. We're going to go through online registration tools and why they make up an important part of your event management efforts. Huge way to save time and energy here. And finally, we're going to recognize that just because an event is over, your work is not done. You need to send out a survey to learn from your mistakes, to go with what worked and to improve, and of course, to continue to interact with your clients and deepen those relationships. We'll wrap up with some next steps, including a couple of tips on how to use social media to generate more response and results. And then we'll close out with a brief session and follow up with any final Q&A. So first, why run an event? In all things, you really need to start with what your goal is. You may want to raise money or drive purchases, create or increase face-to-face engagement, create or celebrate milestones such as the opening of a new location, reward customer loyalty, grow your list of contacts and supporters, or simply educate a group or current potential supporters about your area of expertise. These are all very valid, and it all kind of runs back to, again, what's going to make the biggest difference to your business from your client's perspective. So think about what they need. You don't need to prove that you're an expert in the field. You need to answer questions that an expert would answer if they were, or if a client was going to work with them. So think one step back into the what's in it for them mode. That all relates back to the digital marketing cycle. If you provide a wow experience to your customers, that's going to help generate trust and interest in your events. When you do that, that entices people to stay in touch, giving them an option, a way to attend an event, and a way to get to the next step with your business is going to help drive additional engagement. That engagement is going to help drive more excitement about your business and help generate word of mouth, because when you engage folks, they not only do more business with you, but it also drives social visibility. And social visibility is what you see on social networks or via shared emails or shared content. And that in turn drives new prospects to your door. Charging for an event is something that I'd love to impress on everyone. This is, of course, a little bit hypocritical for BizzyWeb right now with our BizzyWebinars because we don't charge for these. But for physical events, it's a great idea to charge because it helps a ton to make sure people show up. The common responses out of 200,000 RSVPs in a recent event with Constant Contact, they found that 50% of people that did not attend cited date or time conflicts. 29% cited other reasons. And when we look closer, that was mostly related to date, time, or location of the event. Location was about 10% directly. They said, nothing's happening inside of here and I just can't get to that physical location at that time. And then finally, 0.01% of folks said that they couldn't attend because of the cost. Think about that. That's crazy. Out of 200,000 attendees, 0.01% means that 20 people responded and said that that event was simply too expensive or they didn't want to pay for it. Now, granted, this was for an event that was very inexpensive. If your event is $15,000, such as some bigger gala types events, or if you have large ticket purchases for things like such as tables for a gala, that might be a little bit different. But still, setting things down and charging at least something for any event is going to be a great way to make sure that people actually show up physically. One way that I like to tie this and make sure that we explain why the charge is that we just provide a little bit of refreshments. And so your $5 registration fee covers the cost of coffee and donuts or whatever. So let's talk about event promotion, beginning with creating buzz for your event, increasing registration, and then maximizing attendance. Studies show that it's best to promote your event over a 6-week period. An important thing to note here is that I'm talking about the promotion of your event, not the event planning. If you're at promotion stage, you've already planned it out, which means you've already secured all the details your attendees will need, such as location, date and time, program, and accommodations if necessary. Promoting your event doesn't mean just blasting out your registration URL 6 weeks in a row. Today, we've broken your event success into 3 stages. First is creating buzz, 5 to 6 weeks out. Then increasing registration 3 to 4 weeks out, and then finally maximizing attendance about 2 weeks out of the event date. Each stage will be broken down now into best practices designed to help achieve the total goal of that stage. We'll talk about how all of them come together to make your events a success now. Creating buzz is all the groundwork you can do to get people excited about your event and on their radar even before you begin to share your event's URL through email and social media. Begin by featuring your event on your website or on your homepage and an event section if you have one. And make sure that your event registration page is there as well. If you're using Constant Contact's events tool, you'll be able to customize your registration page to get all the information you need, and we'll talk about that in the next section. If your event is open to the public, there's a chance someone could stumble upon it by just visiting your website, and you want to make sure that people can register right away, even if you haven't begun to publicize it yet. After you've set up your website and the online registration form, it's time to publicize your event by sharing it on social media and listing it anywhere potential attendees may find it. You might want to look at your local newspaper's events calendar if you have chambers of commerce or trade industry publications that relate to your clients. That's a great way to get content out there. Just share that information everywhere you can. and share it on all of the social media platforms, of course, that you use. Encourage your fans and followers to share it with your connection. Use online event management systems like social events that can push out your event automatically to public listings. There may even be event sites specific to your industry. And make sure your event is covered by local press. Many newspapers have a community calendar that'll list local events, so contact the editor to ask if they can include it with enough time in advance for people to plan. This might be another time that you need to be further out from the typical 3 to 4 weeks for this event promotion window. If there's event industry publications, you can consider those, and consider co-marketing your event with other organizations. If you're partnering with another group, ask them to promote it in their email marketing and on their social media platforms. Ask the venue to promote your event on its own calendar, and if there's a Chamber of Commerce or other business support group in your area, ask them for some additional promotion as well. The bottom line is this: the more places you can list and promote your event, the more exposure you'll get, giving you a better chance to draw in an audience that's interested in what you have planned. Then you want to leverage your regular email newsletter to get your word out about your event. Your email newsletter is a great place to promote your events because it reaches a wide audience. And this is people that already know and love you. It takes advantage of the places that people are already paying attention to. This example, the Peabody Essex Museum regularly sets out a newsletter about current and upcoming exhibits and events to allow readers to register or learn when they see an interesting event, even if the email isn't specifically about that event. Talking about the event is not enough. Make sure that registration is only a click away. 3 to 4 weeks before your event, it's time to directly reach out with invitations. An event management system like the one in Constant Contact makes it easy to create a great-looking email invitation. If you're sending out paper invites as well, you should use the same images and branding to make them look consistent and help your audience recognize right away that the information is coming from you. Then, take full advantage of all your social networks because it'll help spread the word for your event beyond just your loyal supporters and might encourage people new to your organization to tag along. In the 2 weeks before your event, you're in the home stretch. A lot of times, event promotion focuses on driving registration, and that's great, but event attendance is even more important, of course, for your promotional strategy. So let's take a look at the best practices you can apply to maximize that registration. Sending an email reminder sounds like a no-brainer. However, you don't want to settle just for resending the event invitation. Don't pass up this incredible opportunity to get them excited about attending, especially because it'll be seen by a large portion of your registrants. When we studied event emails, our customers had more than 60% open rate for their reminder emails. You can do things to further engage them, like sending a pre-event survey or poll, showing an event countdown, providing speaker information or bios, and making it easy to share by forwarding the email or posting it to social media. And although your event homepage link remains static, you can still update it. Make sure it has the most updated information and keep rotating that content so people will want to come back, and then you'll get registrants excited about attending. If your event requires a ticket for entry, make sure to include a reminder for registrants to print it out ahead of time. It's a great reminder for them to attend, and it'll make your check-in process much easier. And don't forget to use your social networks. We'll talk about the concept of social proof in a few minutes, and I'll also share some tips for social media towards the end of this presentation. So hang on and we'll see why leveraging social visibility in your organization is so important. So let's talk about online registration and why you should use it for your event. One of the early choices you make in planning an event has to do with the tools you'll use to manage various details of that event. Will you use offline tools or online tools? To be clear, offline doesn't just equal paper. This refers to an entire mix of resources and other tools that you're likely using, like spreadsheets, phone calls, Outlook, or other email. These are all things we'd consider offline or indirect event management tools. In fact, some recent research we conducted of customers using our event management tools, we found out that a lot of them were using a mix. We call them indirect because your invitee isn't registering directly into the event database. They reply to the invitation via phone, email, regular mail, or just by registering their intent in person, and then you or a member of your staff has to enter the data into the spreadsheet or a system. Notice I didn't mention things like paper invites and save the date cards. That's because they're not what we're discussing right now. To be clear, we're actually big fans of paper invitations because they can be artistic and exciting, and it really stands out in a world of digital marketing. Let people feel the personalization of your event. But what we're focused here on today is the tools that can help streamline the registration process and make your life as an event planner or manager much easier. So let's talk about online registration or direct registration. We've all at this point seen and completed an online registration form. In fact, you had to fill out one to attend this session. It eliminates the step of a person having to manually enter registrants into a database for your records, and online registration forms are a direct and electronic way to automatically capture and save information about people coming to your event. Using online registration tools like Constant Contact, you can also capture fees, guest information, demographics, and contact information. This is very much a work smarter, not harder kind of a strategy. Using an online registration tool is one of the easiest ways to save your sanity when you're practicing or creating events. As technology has moved more of our lives and the management of our lives online, more people expect to be able to manage tasks like registering for events through a computer or even through their phone. The number today is as much as 50%, or half of the people who receive paper invites are expecting to also be able to register online. The simple beauty of online registration is that it keeps all the information you need all the time in one place. A mix of tools can't do that for you. Online registration tools will make your life easier as an event planner or manager and for your invitees. You can collect more information than a simple yes, no, maybe on an RSVP when you're using online registration, because you can set up your form to ask for all the info you need. All your invitation acceptance and declines, all the demographic information and billing information you have can be pulled together quickly in one place. And if you're charging for an event, many online tools allow you to collect those fees as part of the registration process. You can be collecting information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Of course, the best part is that you're not actually doing any of this collection, data entry, or information handling. Registration can happen whenever your attendees want to attend or register, which increases the likelihood that they'll register because it happens on their schedule. Most online tools will allow you to automatically update registrants with any event changes, such as time, venue, speakers, even after they've registered, with the click of a button. If you want, or if your event requires it, you can also sell items related to the event or collect donations related to your cause, again, with all that information ending up in one place, which you can do with what you need. In one word, registration tools make your life easier. In addition to being easier, you're also going to find out that expectations around where registration takes place have been changing. Let's talk about that invite. If you want to make sure to keep it simple, a great online registration tool is one that allows you to streamline sending invites and bringing together the information for your event with your email list to send to your audience. There are a couple things to keep in mind as you build that invitation. Use clean and simple graphics that reflect your brand and the type of event. Don't overload the invite with images that can be distracting from the important information. Include all the event details: where it is, what time it is, what's the cost, is there a meal or a cocktail hour, a speaker, entertainment, anything that your attendees need to know about that event. Make sure your message to attendees is compelling and explains what the event is about, why they should want to attend, and also anticipate some other questions. Can they bring a friend? Will parking be validated? Where do they park? And do they need to bring their invitation or ticket? Remember to use an interesting and compelling subject line that makes it clear that this is an event they can't miss. I have a BizzyWebinar that we've done in the past month that talks about clear subject lines. The key is to make sure that it's catchy, it's not boring, and that it's clear that it's coming from you. We talked a little bit earlier about when you should put out your registration form, but now let's talk about what you should put on it and what you shouldn't. First, let's take a look at one that really misses the mark. You don't want to make your online registration form too difficult, complicated, or overly time-consuming to complete. This is an example of a form that on appearances might make a person consider not moving ahead. It looks complicated, like you're about to renew your driver's license or register with the DMV. It actually asks for 14 different pieces of information. However, if your event requires that you ask 14 pieces of information, do it, but do everything you can to make sure that you're asking for only the information that's necessary and relevant to your event. It's not a survey. This is not a platform from which you should get a lot of extra detail about the event or the organization. Ask only what you need at this stage and no more. What should a good one look like? Well, let's look at this one. A great registration form should have your organizer's logo and simple graphics. But again, don't clutter up your screen. If your logo is visually interesting like this one, you're going to stick with your logo. You need your event name, you need a brief description of the event, and the event details, including date, time, location, a map, and all that. Your online registration tool should allow you to fill in this information easily. Form fields that are easy to understand and simple to fill out are also urgent. You want to avoid as much open-ended content as possible. Give people A, B, or C, or drop-down choices to make things as simple as you possibly can. You've worked really hard to develop your brand and to show your brand personality in whatever you do. So why wouldn't you take the opportunity to do that with your event registration too? You should customize your event registration so that it reflects your brand. Use your logo and colors, and if you're using online registration, send from an email address that your audience will recognize as your organization. Also, make sure that you use language that you already use in your communications. If you call people members, friends, business executives, cozy knitters, whatever, use that same language in the registration form so that it's customized to reflect who you are as an organization. And also be sure that in the language that you use for your organization, if you use those names, make sure that the language is similar in your registration form so that it's customized to the brand. If you say, come join our community, you don't want to have unit number as part of that. That's just too informal, and it doesn't match what you're trying to say and convey. So how much information and what information to collect? It should be pretty simple as far as what you should do, but the short answer is that you want to collect only as much information as you absolutely need in order to effectively manage your event. People are starved for time and want things to be as efficient as possible. There's plenty of research out there to support the fact that as forms get longer, there's a higher chance that people won't complete them. So it's in your best interest to keep your forms concise. If there are questions you want to ask that are related to your business or organization, but aren't related to your event, you should find a different approach to asking them, such as a post-event survey or poll at another time. Here's some common pieces of information collected with registration forms. Notice that this is not a big list. Don't ask for anything you're not going to use. Demographics can help you plan or adjust your logistics, entertainment, or auction items. An audience that has more women than men, for example, could lead you to make different choices than if it were the other way around. If you're allowing invites to bring guests, collect that information, especially so that you can manage your seating and event capacity. If your event will have different sessions, like a conference, ask ahead of time which sessions your attendees plan to go to. This can help you adjust staffing, communicate about openings, and even add or remove sessions or promote alternate options. Collect all of the event-specific information that you may need. If you're offering a meal and need people to select menu options, put it on the form. If you're giving away commemorative t-shirts, you'll need to get info about sizes and quantities. This is all where you can include how did you hear about our event, which can tell you whether you have a high number of returning customers, VIPs, or new supporters coming to that event, and allow you to adjust your remarks, etc. Payment is clearly important. If you're collecting payments and payment information ahead of time, you'll be much better able to manage your event budget and finances. If you know that a large number of your registrants plan to pay at the door, it could impact how you pay for certain aspects of your event in advance. With that idea in mind, here's a few other things you might also want to ask for. You might want to ask your attendees whether they have accessibility needs so that you know in advance and make sure you're prepared to ask or answer questions about what accessibility needs your event has or your venue has. On the last slide, I mentioned asking for meal and giveaway information. You may also want to ask about whether people need vegetarian, kosher, or gluten-free options. For giveaways, if you're giving out clothing, consider asking about special sizes. Ask about food allergies. If it's also wise if you're serving a meal. Some serious food allergies can be triggered just by the way food is prepared. So this is important information for you and the caterer to have in advance. And on that note, if you think you might need it, collect emergency contact information from registrants. It's a good piece of information to have if you're hosting a longer event like a conference or anything athletic such as a 5K race. Asking about things that might seem unrelated could actually help a lot. If you run a summer camp and want to know what school the child attended, it could help you place kids into groups with others that they might already know. Again, the key takeaway here is to make sure you're asking for information that's relevant to the event. Once you have the set of questions that you want to ask, with online tools, there's another important consideration that you want to make, one that's going to help you make better use of that information. You've got questions to ask, and then you just build out the form providing space for the answers, and you're off to the races, right? Yeah, not right. Here's an example of a form that might have been created that way. Clearly, there's a lot of information they want to collect, and they provide an ample space for those answers. Well, what's wrong with the picture? These are all open-ended questions. Why is that a problem? Because as registrants complete and submit their answers, you'll get a spreadsheet that looks a lot like this. This is a set of data that's going to be really hard to process or analyze because there's a variety of answers, types of answers, and you'll have to do a lot of cleanup work in this spreadsheet before you could make the most effective use of it. How to get around this common issue? The best approach is to provide options in response to each question. Look at the form and how the event manager has made it easy, in this example, for the registrant to ask for yes/no answers by providing selections of responses in drop-down menus. Then when the event manager looks at the data, they'll find a very clean data set that can be easily sorted, filtered, analyzed, or even make pretty charts out of. And you can analyze and make changes in the event strategy as things are coming in. Remember, good data in, good data out. Here's another time-tested piece of advice. Make sure the first test subject of your registration form is you. Even before you send out your invitations, make sure that you fill out the form and have members of your staff, and ideally someone that knows you, but that's not that regularly involved with your event or with your organization, to fill it out as well. Maybe your family member or a friend. This is going to allow you to make sure the form is simple and easy to understand, check for any typos or other errors that could confuse people or give out incorrect information, and get a sense of how long it's going to take for your invitees to complete. Once you have a good sense of how long it takes, you can even let people know in the invitation that registration takes only 5 minutes or take 3 minutes to sign up for this event. You came up with questions, built a good form to collect the information, and you tested it, and it's now live. So now what? One thing you can do while setting your registration form is to allow registrants to see who else is registered for your event. That way, once they're registered, they can see who's already planning to go. This leads to something that's known as social proof. What's social proof? It's a phenomenon by which someone looks to see how others are responding to a particular situation or decision before they act. Imagine driving to a restaurant only finding that the parking lot was empty. It'd make you wonder if the food wasn't that good or if it was even in business. What happens when your registration form has names on it is that one of your invitees will get the registration form, see the list of names. They might even see someone that they know and have similar interests or industries, all as part of the process of deciding whether or not they want to attend. If you see enough of that social proof, you'll be more inclined to think that this is an event worth attending, and you'll complete the registration. They'll also more likely be able to show up when they attend. And one thing to note is that your registrants have a choice about whether others can see that they're attending. When they get to the end of the form, they'll be asked if they want to share their registration with others with limited information. It's important to be clear that this is limited information and to share what that information is. In this case, it asks for only your name, title, and company info will be shared. When they allow that, their name will be added to a list of people who have registered contributing to social proof. Social proof works. When a person recognizes their peers are doing something, like attending an event, they'll be much more likely to want to do the same. So make sure you're giving them every opportunity to see the interest in your event, both in your registration form and on social media. You can also extend how this social proof can work for you. Give your registrants an option to share their information and give a link to the event through their social networks like Facebook and Twitter. You should also leverage your own social media platforms to try to generate proof by posting the event on Facebook, as these businesses did. Notice the use of information, images, and even video to promote the events. And since these were posted on Facebook, followers of these businesses commented and liked those posts, increasing social proof and driving more registrants to their registration page. Think about your own Facebook feed. If you see a few Facebook friends are planning to attend an event that looks fun, interesting, or educational, that makes you much more likely to attend, right? In addition to facilitating the collection of information that's relevant to your event, as well as helping provide the social proof that might help you increase your registration, online tools and their collection of data can help inform future business decisions. When you collect demographic information, you'll get email addresses, which will increase your list size and broaden your marketing reach. Knowing your audience size will help you decide how to approach that audience at your event as you start to build your relationship with them. Understanding which parts of your event, such as breakout sessions filled out fastest, can help you redirect staffing if you have time and resources, or help you in planning your next event. Other information specific to the event, such as how they heard about it, will help you in promoting future events. If you know that a lot of people found out about your event through your email newsletter, then you can make sure you mention future events early and frequently in your mailings leading up to them. And of course, knowing which payment method worked best for your event is important. As I mentioned earlier, if you participate in collecting a lot of registration fees at the door, you may not be able to pay for event costs in advance, which could affect your planning. The way you allow people to pay or make donations can have an impact in registration and attendance. While the cost or free issue doesn't really matter as much, making it convenient for your audience to pay is important. Other different ways for invitees to pay for registration if you're charging for your event or make donations. Once you've held a few events, you may get a better sense of what works best for your particular audience. Here's some options. Paying by check or credit card is common, with a lot of small businesses using credit card processors, such as WePay, to make payments of a seamless form of process. Square also works really well. Eventbrite's pretty good for this. There's all kinds of ways that you can do that. You might also find that online payment solutions like PayPal would work better for you. Just keep in mind that in most cases, options like these will take your registrant out of your form and onto a separate website to pay that offers or that adds additional issues and additional roadblocks, especially if a client is on a mobile device or suffering from low bandwidth speeds. And also, depending on the type of event and audience, you may want to offer the option to pay at the door. In addition to taking cash and checks at the door, you may be interested in a mobile payment app, which I've mentioned before, like Square, which allows users to swipe credit cards and email receipts through their smartphone or tablet. It's a very slick system. If you've ever seen Square used, they actually mail you out a free reader as part of that deal. It's very simple to set up, and you can swipe those cards and let people sign with their fingers right on your phone or iPad or Android device screens. Something you need to keep in mind, though, with respect to payment options is that people may opt out of registering if you only offer one payment option. While there may be one option that works best for you and your organization, that might not be the best option for your invitees. Imagine the scenario we have here that shows certain potential attendees and the payment options they prefer. Let's say 68 of the people who want to go to your event would want to pay by check or credit card, 32 would want to use the online payment tool like PayPal, and 27% would want a credit card processor, but you're only accepting payment at the door. People for whom paying at the door is most convenient. If you start to reduce options available for paying for that event, you might be limiting the potential pool of people likely to register or attend. In other words, carefully consider how you're letting people pay. Now let's discuss what should happen after your fantastic and amazing event. After every event, there's one thing you absolutely must do, and that's to say thank you. Sending an email to everyone who attended will let them know you appreciated their appearance at your event and include, ideally, a photo or video from that event. It's a personal touch to let them know that you value their business, and it's a great way to stay engaged with your audience. Some of the tools you can use to plan and promote events return your results instantaneously, and some others take longer. For example, some tools used to run webinars will take 24 hours for the recording and list of attendees and non-attendees. Make sure you know which option your tool has so you can plan accordingly. The example on screen shows the registration results just a few hours after Jack's Barbecue launched its event. They can already see that 3 registrants are planning to bring 4 guests, and if they dive deeper, they can get more detailed information from those registrants. Once the event has concluded, you can go ahead and check your results and report in to get a few different things. You can pull a list of attendees, guests, and no-shows, Once you have your list, send an email to attendees and to registrants that didn't attend. To attendees, send all the resources. And if you had a live event, photos and videos, results like who won the raffle or silent auction prizes, and additional information that you want to share with your webpage, just send that link. Make sure to give them a next step, whatever you decide that is, with a call to action. Some calls to action are to interact with your organization on social media, make a donation, purchase a product, start a trial, or take the next step. You can use reporting features to check on revenue from ticket sales or donations. And if you asked questions during the registration process and that information can be synced with your attendee lists, you can go ahead and start segmenting those lists of names based on those responses. This will help you with your follow-up over time. Soon after your event, connect with your attendees, staff, and volunteers and ask them to attend future events and make it easy for them to share by inviting them to post pictures and other events. So for example, connecting up with additional information can get people to take the next step. You can take a look at what the tweets were posted during this event, for example, and see what happened with it. When people post tweets, speakers get the most attention on Twitter. You can see at which times people posted and what those folks were most interested in. And take a look at who your top participants were on Twitter. If you're not following them already, start following them and send direct messages to thank them, or send a tweet that publicly thanks everyone who tweeted about your event. List their Twitter handles. These people are loyal followers or brand ambassadors. Keep track of them, engage them, and reward them to take or for attending and helping you promote your event. You can use surveys to gain insights on how much people enjoyed the event, what they'd like to see done differently, etc. You can develop a satisfaction score over time, and this score can help you calibrate your efforts and planning as you make changes to elements of your event and as you strive to provide the best experience. You can ask a whole range of questions and gain valuable insight. Ask about whether the event venue and the timing of the event worked well for your attendees. Get feedback on the entertainment or any speakers you might have had. Ask questions to help you understand your audience better, learn about their interests or demographics, and this is also an opportunity for you to ask recipients to sign up to receive your regular email newsletter, which is a great way to stay in touch and to continue your relationship with that audience. Just like with your registration form, your survey should only ask for information you will act on. It shouldn't be too long. Limit yourself to about 10 to 15 questions max, and should be mostly closed-ended or multiple choice questions so that you get good, usable data to analyze. Now let's talk about a few next steps you can take. First, here's the basic checklist for communications to send before and during registration, event information to put into your reminder email 2 weeks before your event, and then the things that you should include in your follow-up email. If you'd like, you can again send a note to dave@BizzyWeb.com to get this list. You can take a picture of it quick, or if you want to take a screenshot on your screen, you can simply click pause and do Alt print screen on Microsoft products, or Command Shift 4 to take a screenshot on a Mac. Here's a review of offline versus online registration tools and why you should definitely use online tools to make planning and managing your event registration easier. Collecting RSVPs, fees, and other information related to your event will be easier. Online tools make things very simple, and good data in equals good data out. Social proof and other ways to share the word makes it much simpler via online registration. And of course, it makes it much easier to send reminders and continue to stay involved with your registrants. That not only gets more registrants, but it assures that the people that have registered will be much more likely to attend. I promised at the beginning that I would talk a little bit about the top social networks. I'm going to talk very briefly, quickly, about how each of these works. I'm going to skip back over just to make sure that we don't have any questions on the Twitters. If you do have a question for today's event, again, going to and publishing to the hashtag #BizzyWebinar is how you can register those questions. Don't see any right now, so thank you very much. We do have a bunch of folks attending today, so if you did have a question, by all means, either hashtag us to BizzyWebinar or send me a note with a question at dave@BizzyWeb.com. The top social networks, of course, are as follows: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. And these are the big ones for the most impact. There's Snapchat, there's all kinds of other stuff. There's Google Plus, there's, as many networks as there are different types of people, but here's the ones that have the most headway and probably are going to get you the most results. Facebook, of course, is the biggest social sharing site for users and businesses. You should post text, links, photos, and videos that engage, inform, and promote your event. And so when you do that, making sure to publish those links makes your life much, much easier. You can post really a couple times a day on Facebook, but at a minimum on Facebook in general, you should be publishing at least once a week. The business benefit of Facebook, of course, is to reach large audiences and allow you to laser target your different clientele with Facebook's advertising platform. In the upper right of any managed page on Facebook, there is a promotion tool. When you use that promotion tool, you don't even have to enter in any money or any credit card information to get a wealth of demographic information about the people that connect with you, as well as the size of any given audience. You can go male, female, specific distances away from your business, and people that have an affinity for your type of business or the types of things that you do. So, for example, you could register for parents of school-age children that live within 5 miles of your business and that are also interested in stamp collecting and Taekwondo. So you can label all that stuff down and get people very involved and only spend a minimum amount to target exactly the right people. With LinkedIn, you're reaching a corporate audience. This is social networking for business. You should post content about your business, your expertise, curated content. This is all the stuff that's going to prove that you are an expert in your field and that your event is worth attending. You can post once a week on LinkedIn. You can post more if you want, but make sure that it's high value and not fluffy information. The business benefit on LinkedIn is to establish your expertise and, of course, network within your industry to help you get the right people to your events. Twitter, social conversation and information sharing. This is the hashtag world, and this is what you're doing. Links to news, blog posts, photos, videos, all of the content that you're sharing, kind of stream of consciousness. And with Twitter, you can't really overdo it. So as long as you're consistent with your channel, posting upwards of 5 times a day is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you're using hashtags appropriately, that you're connect correctly, and that you're posting at least something of minor value. I've seen folks that have retweeted contents of entire books. That just doesn't make any sense. It'd be much better to offer helpful insights, curate content or other tweets. Retweeting is a big thing. The big business benefit is it's the fastest way to reach your audience and for customer service. In event management world, having a hashtag for your event can be a great way to engage and encourage conversation, as well as allow people to see what's happening in that event, offer their comments, post questions, and of course, make your event stickier as time goes on because people can see all the wonderful things that people said about that event. Pinterest, social site where users can pin images to boards of things that they like, so both videos and images, and you can post those images of products, tips, digital content, and interests if you have specific visual components to your event, or if you wanted to post highlights from your event, say parts of the keynote speech or some breakout sessions or other things around that kind of content. Using Pinterest and specific boards, perhaps for that event, would be a great way to share that content. You can pin as much as you want as well. Again, just making sure that it respects and uses Pinterest the way it's intended. You make sure that you label every image and every video, and make sure that you pin to appropriate boards so that people can follow or unfollow boards that they find interesting. The benefit, of course, is to get you found by search or chance and direct people back to your website and hopefully drive additional event attendance in the future. Instagram is mobile apps for photo and video sharing. This is a mobile-only application. You can view Instagram posts online on a computer, but you can't do anything other than view online from a PC. Everything else is done via a mobile device, such as a phone or a tablet. You can post photos and videos of your business, products, and people. Instagram is a great way to share behind the scenes information. So if you have a brief Q&A or a reaction video after someone has attended your event, to say, what'd you think about today's event? What'd you think about the speaker? BizzyWeb client call to auction, and Bobby D, world champion auctioneer, does this relatively often, where he interviews people and then posts that content on Instagram and then hashtags it with the event. I do once a day or so if you're going to do things on Instagram. The key thing is that you want to be consistent. At a very minimum with any of these networks, you should be doing something once a week, and certainly around every event. So if you're going to do an event, having something on all of these networks, having information, having follow-up results after the event is done is very important. The benefit is to let followers get to know you and your business through images and videos. The key also is to be consistent in your delivery and to make sure that you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. To make your posts work for you, about half of what you share should be interesting and entertaining posts, stuff that's designed to engage your clients. The next 30% should be designed to offer helpful information. This is tips and tricks that people learn from your seminar or your event. This is advice that you learned in advance and some of the things that people will want to connect on, or perhaps even tidbits and tricks that were learned from your event that you can use to generate additional registrations on future events. The final 20% should be designed to promote your business. This is your call to action space. This isn't necessarily a buy now, but this is register for our next event. Tell us what you think. What would you like to see in an event with us? And just asking and interacting with specific people. Call us, stop by. Buy today is one of the things that you can do, but again, that's not the leader. People like interacting with businesses online and in social media. They don't necessarily like to be sold, but once they're ready, they do like to buy. So make sure that you give people that option with about 20% of what you do to give people a next step. So last chance now for questions. We're right at about the hour space, and I wanted to make sure that we're talking and making sure that we're answering your questions in like mind. If you do have those questions, again, you can post them to #BizzyWebinar. Or again, if you'd like to connect with us to register for future events, go to BizzyWeb.com/events. If you'd like a free trial for Constant Contact, go to BizzyWeb.com/cc. And there's a lot more helpful information at blogs.constantcontact.com/library. If you'd like to join our marketing list and you haven't already, just text BIZZY, B-I-Z-Z-Y, watch the autocorrect, to 22828. And again, if you would like those slides from today's event, send me an email at dave@BizzyWeb.com. You can also give us a call at 612-424-9990 for BizzyO. Or if you'd like a buzz report to outline what you're doing on your digital marketing and to give you some easy tips that you can use to improve your results for free, go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz. Again, I am Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. And remember, at BizzyWeb, we help you generate buzz without getting stung. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you soon.